G'day guys, and today, the last video of the year and indeed the decade, which is something interesting, one big chapter of history closing, another one opening up. Will be interesting to see what happens over the next decade and how it compares to the last. So what I want to talk about today on this day of days, this day of ending? Well, I thought I'd share my thoughts on New Year's resolutions. Now, in the past, I've never really thought much of New Year's resolutions. To me, it always seemed like a fad, something that would be inevitably given up on. We can think of the meme of what the gym is like in January and so on. And maybe it is just that. Maybe it is just a fad, a fashion statement, a piece of virtue signaling that you want everyone to know about in December and hope that they'll forget about by February. Maybe it is just that. But it doesn't have to be. So you see, this year I've been thinking a lot more on the symbolism of certain dates. Whereas before I was like, what does it matter in the grand scheme of things? It's just like, it's just where the Earth is in the solar system at that point. It's no different to any other location, that sort of stuff. A very material look. But it was brought to my attention that certain dates, such as the ending of a year and a birthday and such, provide a certain structure to the narrative of your life journey. It's literally marking out in regular increments the passing of time. So we can think of a birthday marks the beginning and end of a chapter within your life. You will never be that age again. It's done. It's finished. It's over. Now, to me, this lends itself towards reflection. So when you look back at that closing chapter of your life, probably not when you're blowing out the candles, but maybe at another time, you look back at that chapter of your life you've just finished up, and you have to ask yourself, or you can ask yourself, I should say, was that chapter, on the whole, a positive experience? Was it uplifting? Was it inspiring? And so on. And if it wasn't, how could you make your next one better? So once I began to realize this new perspective, that there are incremental passages of time within your life that provide a good basis for reflection, resolution, coming together, recollecting yourself and moving forwards into the next chapter with, 1 foot forward rather than, just being dragged forward by time. Obviously, I wanted to maximize the value I could derive from this, which leads itself to the content of this video. So here are my thoughts on how best to structure your resolutions for 2020. Now again, a disclaimer that I put in many of my videos. What I'm saying here is by no means the exhaustive or perfect or objective list of how to structure resolutions. It's just some things that I thought up and I thought were relevant to the conversation. Anything you have to share to this, I would be happy to hear down in the comments. So here are my thoughts. Number 1, I think you should split your resolutions into material and abstract. I think a lot of people are missing out when they only make goals in terms of material possessions. Now this could maybe be a byproduct of consumerist culture where people are more concerned with things rather than abstractions, but again, I don't know. A lot of material progress that you make in life, if not all of it, however, is governed and directed by the abstract principles that you hold to. So I believe it bears relevance to make progress there too, not merely in the material realm. Now when we're thinking of material goals, we could think of such things as saving a certain amount of money, moving into that new home, getting that new PB in the gym, which is fine, but again, I think you're losing out on a lot if you don't attempt to resolve some way to better your thinking, your self-knowledge, your wisdom. And this is where the abstract resolutions come in. Now, an abstract resolution is not something that you attain physically. You're not going to be able to hold it in your hands, although it is certainly possible that you will garner some tangible material gains from it. For example, a commitment to the abstract principle of the deferral of gratification could see you attaining healthier relationships with your friends or a more virtuous partner than what you've had previously. Again, it's the trap of many wasteful people to assume that nothing physical can come from improving your way of thinking. My second thought is that you should make your goals clear and concise. Without this, you won't know which way to aim, and when you have no aim, no direction is the right direction. It is almost inevitable that you will fail in resolutions and it will only serve to make yourself miserable. When we're thinking in terms of concise goals, you want to take on something that's manageable. You're not going to be able to magically improve the world and become a utopia. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Try to make it something that you can just slam out in one sentence. And my last point, if applicable, I believe that you should write a short sentence detailing how you will achieve this resolution. This means not only will you have something to aim for, but you know which direction to go in order to achieve it. and you can continually remind yourself on how you're going to go about achieving this goal. So to give you all an example of how these points might look like laid out on paper, so to speak, I've included an example list of resolutions that I want to achieve in 2020. Obviously, this isn't the sum totality of what I want to get done in 2020, but it's just a short, concise list rather than boring you all to death with what I'm going to be up to next year. So you can see straight away I've split my goals into material and abstract as per my first recommendation. I've also tried to keep my goals very concise by limiting to myself to one line across the page. So, it's not entirely complicated what I'm up to, it's very direct, very concise, and therefore, there's less chaff to work through, there's less interpretation. It says, do this. Okay, very easy. Below each goal, as per recommendation 3, I've included a little instruction of how I'm going about achieving my goal. And again, if I, for example, take this list and stick it up on my wall, each time I walk past this goal, I can check myself against my instructions. Am I performing what I promised or told myself I would do in order to achieve this goal? And I can obviously have that bit of reflection. And if I'm not, for example, diving every fortnight, if I look at my calendar and see I haven't gone scuba diving in a month, I can go, well, damn, I'm not achieving my goals, let's seek to improve that, let's go diving this weekend, and that sort of thing. So it's this continual process of checking yourself against goals and instructions that I think will go a long way for you in order to achieve your resolutions. So that's a few general rules that I've just come up with governing, how we should go about achieving our goals in the new year, which I think is good. I think everyone should be setting goals and looking to improve themselves continually. Again, it doesn't have to be New Year's Eve in order for you to set up some goals to achieve. It can be any time. But as I've mentioned before, this new perspective of seeing these increments of my life come through, it allows you to take stock, look towards the past, see where things went wrong, look towards the future and ask myself, what can I do to better my lot? And looking down, just lastly in my abstract, I can see one goal that I think everyone should bear in mind when we're looking to improve yourself. You should remind yourself that improvements only come gradually. You're not going to be able to conquer all your weaknesses and flaws right away, or right in the month of January. It is something that you have to take step by step, but if you remain consistent, you can always improve yourself that little bit by little bit. This process, this exercise of will, if you choose to undertake it, is very similar to any exercise of the physical body. We can think in terms of gym or cardio and that sort of thing. At the start, it's going to be extremely difficult, but as you go every day, it's going to get easier. But you got to go every day. That's the hard bit. So again, if we think of people slacking off in January, these people aren't hitting the hard yards, aren't being consistent in the application of what they want, and then you have to ask yourself, how badly did they actually want it? But I think having a goal and having a direction, some way to achieve this goal, and then continually reminding yourself of this fact, have it up on your wall, have it on your phone, something like that, just keep triggering that feedback loop of reflection will go a long way for you in order to achieve your goals. I wish you all the best of luck in your journeys of self-improvement. Thanks all for sticking around, and have a good year.